In this video, we're exploring how robust cybersecurity compliance with ApexaiQ can be, as we make it easy to bring in your environment's data, to see every piece of hardware, firmware, operating system, and third-party software on your network in great detail, as they are enriched with end-of-life information, vulnerability information, and are also automatically segmented. And this clean, enriched, and real-time data enables us to set all kinds of compliance standards and benchmarks, both for cloud and for assets on-prem. Finally, we'll see how we can take actions on the non-compliant assets by triggering outbound actions into any kind of automation platform. This way, ApexaiQ not only shows you where the problems are, but empowers you to proactively fix them. Let's look at a detailed diagram and go over some examples. Okay, so the first step is easy. Bring in your environment's data through Apexai's API engine or through Apexai's custom integrations that plug into any in-house solutions you may have built, Apexai's own discovery, or even via a CSV upload. And let ApexaiQ's data engine, normalization engine, and enrichment engine, all of which are customizable by the way, give you clean, deduped, and actionable data. Let's look at the depth of data you get out of the box with ApexaiQ. On the dashboard, you have all the high-level numbers, how many total assets were discovered, how many were seen active in the last 2 weeks, and how many are at high risk. Inspired by the human IQ, you have the ApexaiQ score, which quantifies the hygiene of your entire environment, a trend graph to track the progress made in improving your environment. You have hardware and operating system end-of-life information of what's reached end-of-life or upcoming in the next 12 or 12 plus months. You can see the assets with an expired maintenance or what's expiring in the next 6 or 6 plus months. See exactly how many assets are compliant based on your organizational standards. And you have the vulnerability information across every piece of hardware, firmware, operating system, and third-party software. We'll dig deeper into this in just a second, but you get more details about each of these. Like here we can see the trend of end-of-life hardware. Seems like there are 4 servers that have reached end-of-life. You have the breakdown of assets by their source, what's on-prem, what's on the cloud, and more details such as assets by device type, by vendor, and vulnerability by vendor. You can have custom grouping of assets, let's say by cost centers, and see at a high level the hygiene of just those assets. Finally, we have the vulnerability dashboard, showing you all the vulnerabilities by CVSS severity, what have been exploited and reported by CISA, along with the fix for them. And for vulnerabilities not yet exploited, you have the EPSS score to know how easily they can be exploited. You have control to set compliance standards against all of these data points. This is what allows for robust compliance benchmarks. Here's an ApexaiQ out-of-the-box example of CIS compliance for AWS. Are all my EC2 instances on a virtual private cloud or VPC and the VPC flow logging enabled? Have I ensured my RDS instances are not publicly accessible and that my AWS storage is encrypted? Are my S3 buckets encrypted and not publicly accessible? And if not, send an alert on it. We also have it out of the box for Azure. Is my Azure data encrypted at rest and in transit? And is my Azure network security firewall set up? Here is a coverage gap compliance example. Are all the devices being scanned by Active Directory, Sophos, Desktop Central on-prem, Tejas VDR, and Tejas XDR? Here is an example of a desktop compliance benchmark to ensure my laptops and desktops are not running on end-of-life hardware and operating system. They have password expiration time set on Active Directory. CrowdStrike firewall policy is applied. The drives are encrypted on Drata. They are not marked as retired on ServiceNow. It's updated by Tenable and does not have any critical or high-risk vulnerabilities. We can go deeper and set up a security gap compliance standard to check if all the policies within security tools are configured correctly. Take CrowdStrike. Is the firewall policy, global firewall policy, prevention policy, remote response policy, and sensor update policy all applied? If not, alert. And here's one that automatically deletes assets that have not been seen or updated in the last 90 days. Beyond automatic deletion and alerting, ApexaiQ can trigger any type of outbound actions on assets that are not compliant. Here is an example of a router that is not running the latest firmware version. We can automatically trigger an outbound action to upgrade its firmware. For this example, we used YubiQ, but it can be done on any platform. Once upgraded, we can see that the same router is now compliant. Here is an example of a Windows machine which is running a vulnerable version of a third-party software. Here we can see that the machine has vulnerabilities. Let's trigger an upgrade through an Ansible playbook from ApexaiQ. Once upgraded, the same machine has no more vulnerabilities. This way, we can trigger any playbook, job template, or workflow on any platform to automatically trigger patches, firmware upgrades, OS upgrades, or any other outbound action based on the asset type. So these were just a few compliance benchmark examples to demonstrate how you can automatically take actions to fix non-compliant assets using ApexaiQ.